Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And once again, welcome to and welcome back in my channel today. And we are on the episode number 57 of Unknown to Known with someone who is very special, a mentor, a guru, a guide, a presenter, a speaker, and a godfather of ServiceNow. I welcome you, Nayab, in today's session in the podcast, which is Unknown to Known. Definitely, I will give you a chance to speak a lot for the next hour. But let's go as per the tradition first. Let's take 10-20 second pause, pray to God to give us the word, power, word, and strength so that what we want to be speak, what we want to be say to our community, it should go in the same manner and people should be able to take that in the positive format. And then we'll open the session with you for the formal introduction. Okay, Nayab, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning, Atul. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm wonderful.
It's my pleasure. Before I start, I wish you and your family a happy Eid. I'm not sure that
Thank
you're
you.
celebrating today or it was yesterday only because in India I hear that it's today only. So happy Eid to you, your family, and let's go back to the work now.
Thank you.
Okay. So now as a start, it's not an interview, number one. And to be update to everybody who is be watching now or might be watch little later as recorded, it's a completely unscripted part. So as the first question I put, I want to be know who is Nayab Sayyed, who is standing, who is sitting in front of me, how what you have done in your life till now, because you're very older than me. I can see you have a lot of experience. You see the lot of things in your life. So I want to be hear from you, and then we'll go for the follow-up questions.
Well, first and foremost, as I said, thank you for having me. And you do ask some awkward questions first thing on a Saturday morning, but you're known for that. But yeah, it's an interesting question and something which I reflect upon quite a lot. I come with about 3 decades of technology experience. Initially entered into technology from a sales perspective in a broad-based IT distributor, and really, my journey's evolved from, I guess, entrepreneurship into building technology, helping to enable pathways for workforce transformation, digital inclusion, human impact, and then that whole piece around the AI world in which we live in now. So much of my work today focuses on how do we get individuals ready to hit the ground running in terms of workforces. Digital equity is something very, very close to my heart, making sure that, as the world transforms and has transformed and continues to evolve at pace as it accelerates, how do we make sure that there's an element of digital equity involved where those individuals and groups and communities or regions, you don't typically get a look into this space. It seems to be a very closed school market, for the
True.
haves and the have-nots. How do we create some equity in helping connect practical delivery experience, which is a key proponent of the way that the world works today, together with broader leadership and, in many cases, policy conversations, which we're delving into now as well.
Okay. So you said you use a very common word a lot of time, digital equities kind of things you'll be using a lot, and you're saying
Yeah.
that transformation is the part. And third point, you say that you have approximately 3 decades of experience. Let me put a question to my audience. Is anybody here who did not reach on the age of 30 till now? And we have experienced person who is already already done the three decades, 3 decades
You are as ruthless, I tell you, Dr. Don't worry, time will come.
Okay. Okay. So when you say that you're coming from a kind of a sales background,
Yeah.
what that mean? That did you work as a salesman in a shop or go door and door to be sales something? And
No,
what
no,
was
no.
that actually?
Far from it. So my entry as a youth, which is not long ago, I had a real passion for cars. So I actually
Oh,
worked in the car hire industry. I thought, how can I get my hands behind some like really good top notch cars? And I entered the car hire industry, vehicle rental industry, and I was in that for about sort of 8 years, 9 years. And then I'd always in the back of my mind, had a love and passion for technology, PCs,
Okay.
since a kid. So I got introduced to the opportunity to work at a broad-based distributor, primarily on not only on PCs but a whole plethora of other stuff. So I started off my career in sales, and as a broad-based distributor. And as we started to develop, I thought, wow, this is a minefield. Where do I specialize?
Yep.
And things. This was, late 80s, early 90s, and I'm thinking, hold on, what do I do there? Networking and communication seems to be where I think the market is heading. So I became a specialist in the communication side first, became
Mm-hmm.
product manager for a number of modem companies, and gradually evolved to the networking side. A role came up for Intel, so I became a product manager for Intel. And lo and behold, within the first couple of quarters, became the top salesperson in Europe for Intel
Wow.
products.
Wow.
That developed further, and I was asked to head up a networking division. And this was a fairly large size distributor at the time, a trade distributor. We were doing about £1 million a day of turnover across the networking range. So that's really from where the sales over. But as I started to specialize, I actually sort of slotted into a role of pre-sales, where I had my passion for technology, but I also
Okay.
one foot in the commercial side of the front end.
Okay. So how hard? I'm sure that because you said that you have a passion of technology, but how hard to sell a car to a buyer in the initial days that okay they must go for this purchase now, how hard that was.
Well, they're coming in. You got different. You got some youth coming in, and they want to try and get a fast car.
Hmm.
So it wasn't the sales on that side, but that was more on the rental side. So you start everything with the customer first. If you want to
Correct.
create value,
Wow,
you need to
nice one.
base everything that you do based on value. How do you determine value? You first got to find out what the customer actually wants, and
Mm,
then you adjust accordingly. You know, you had young folks coming in who wanted to hire a car and say, "Okay, I want a fast car." And you think, "Hold on, sunshine, you've only just got your license, like not long back, and within the limits or bounds of what we can and can do, this is
correct.
the fast car that you got." Or you may have other individuals who are coming in. Okay, I'm going to a top cool board meeting and I want to look good. Okay, so we have our prestige range here.
Hmm.
Listen to the customers. We've got two of these and one of these.
Yes.
When you learn to use those in that ratio, life suddenly becomes very, very easy. And
Wow.
that's where really the value comes in.
Correct. No, that's a good one. And how it was different from selling a car and selling a broadband.
Well, as I moved into PC, so the first products that I got involved with was both PCs and networking products.
Hmm.
You had different machines. You had really three main providers at the time. You had HP, you had
Okay.
Compaq, and you had IBM. So those are the
Oh,
main three range. And depending on what the use case was, so you'd get to understand the need or the requirement for the customer. And
customer.
remember, these were trade resellers that we were selling to. So in many cases, they're actually proposing solutions to their customers.
Correct.
So I got very quickly into the mode where I would start to understand them. And even most of the resellers that we had, they did not know what they're supposed to be selling. So they'd actually involve me in their customer calls and say, "Can you help us define the solution?" So that's really
Mm,
the starting point. The principles of sales, it doesn't matter whether it's a pencil, a car, or a PC,
definitely yes.
it's
Oh,
understanding customer requirements.
requirement, right?
So once you get into a mode where you have customer, what we call, there's a terminology that many will come across in this day and age called customer centricity. How
Yeah.
do you be centric? Everything that you do must be centric to your customer's requirements. And once you've grasped that, life suddenly becomes easy. And I'm a simple man at heart. We've done a lot of stuff. We're involved in
Yes.
technology, which is quite complex. Keep things simple. Don't try to
Correct.
overcomplicate life, and life flows.
Wow. Nice. Okay. One more question. Then I'll go to the next part of this discussion. Do you love to read the books as well?
Oh, you'd be surprised. Books, podcasts, informations. I'm so hungry. My appetite for learning is thing. I have always had a curious mindset. from
Wow.
an early age. And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways I could give to anybody. If you want to grow, immerse yourself, immerse yourself, build that appetite for hunger. And, when you become curious, don't, yes, by all means, focus on your particular forte or the sector that you're working in or the industry you're looking or aspiring to get into. Keep your curiosity wide.
Why? Right.
And that, not only increases your knowledge, but it also, the beauty, when you get in front of, let's say, I'm going to give you a simple example. You get in front of let's say you go to some meeting, you get involved with somebody, you get introduced to somebody.
Mhm.
If the only thing you know is your expertise or what you're looking at, you're going to
Not
become boring very, very quickly.
quickly. Correct.
So by having a wide array of things, and you don't need to be subject matter experts in everything
Mm.
and anything, but if you've got a wide array of things, you can keep that conversation going. And when you become interesting like that, you suddenly get to a place where you become a magnet and everything else
Wow.
flows.
Nice, nice, nice words. Become a magnet. I love that part. Definitely yes. Okay, good. So now this has been done. That you started your journey, a kind of a 3 decades you have completed
Yeah.
now, being a sales and coming on the digital perspective. Now
Yeah.
I want to be see one more thing, that how this entrepreneurship come into Nayab. That is someone say, okay, Nayab, become an entrepreneur. You can earn a lot, or it is something because you have a thought to be give back to the community from where you get it, or some different thoughts in the background.
So that whole thing around the entrepreneurial element, I remember when I was still studying, I was still in college, and I thought let's get some work experience as well. So I ended up
Mm.
working for an organisation called WH Smith at the time. I lived quite close to
Okay.
Heathrow Airport, so on the weekends I'd work there, and I was given a store to manage. And the store, we have busy periods and then you have quiet periods. There's a Within that particular section, there was just me on my own, and I'd get a lot of quiet periods. Right in front of me, there was a bookshelf of all of the books that we used to sell. And I remember Lloyd's Bank back then introduced a book called How to Start a Business. And I'd always had aspiration. I
Oh.
thought, okay, as I grow, as I develop, I want to start something. And I sat there, and believe it or not, within about 3 hours, I'd gone from A to Z through that book about how to start a business. And when I put it down, I thought, is that it? Is it as easy as that? And that, demystified that whole element of business. And that was it. I guess that's what lit my inspiration. And from that point onwards,
Hmm.
everything I always did with a view that ultimately I'd like to be, have my own business, have my own aspiration in terms of growth and development. And that's really from where that whole entrepreneurial thing. And so, even during my youth, yeah, many projects, and then got into even when I started in IT, which I talked about a few minutes ago. It's even within the first few days of me getting there, because we were a trained distributor.
Correct.
Not only am I looking at the wider range of products and solutions that we've got and how to position them, I'm sitting there with a pen and pad because I'm sitting there looking at trade prices and I'm seeing what the end user prices are, and my mind's whirring away. Is how can I build value
Build value,
from
right.
an entrepreneurial thing, and that's really, and it continued from that point on.
Hmm. Nice. So I noticed one thing in your discussion. You're using two things very commonly, like uh, kind of a value is one of the things, and customer satisfaction the other part. According to you, I'm not going to your current scenario, like okay, you're between training to the people or something different, but that will come on the later part. According to you, what is this value mean actually? Because the value, it's very big. Having you in my podcast is a value for me. You said in the beginning, you said that Atul, it is my pleasure, it's my value that I came on your podcast. So what is your value, and being a salesperson, what do you think as a value? It's just selling something and giving a good service is a value, or something else you consider on this particular part?
No, value can be defined in many ways. And as I once said, I'm going to keep my approach simple.
Mhm.
One thing that I've learned in life, many people, and we've all been there, when we start off our journeys in life, we think, okay, how can I make money and how can I make it overnight?
Correct.
And that
Correct.
seems to be, and I guess the benchmark for that has been set by through our psychology and the world in which we live in. because money is used as a benchmark, as a definition of how well you're actually doing or whether you're progressing or not.
Correct.
But that, in this material world that we live in, starts to lose value very, very quickly. So, when you then, as you progress and you start to mature and you start to understand a little bit more about the world around us, value is about creating more value for others. And really, technology, money, all the other pieces, these are all enablers. The meaning of value is to create benefit for somebody outside. So, and once you get into that mode where the benefit that you create for others around you is greater than what you're doing, that's when the
Mm,
whole platform changes on its head and
true.
everything else becomes a byproduct. Even the technology that we talk about, people say, yeah, I want to do this. I want to get into this field. I want to become an AI specialist. I want to become a developer. I want to become a programmer. Uh, you know, all these elements have to have an underlying thing. If you are
True.
using those tools as an enabler and the technology as an enabler to create more benefit to resolve a pain point for a customer who you're trying to help, that's when life turns into a completely different model.
Wow.
And when even the technology that you go for, or if you want to become thing, I give people a very, very simple advice. I say, don't look at the money side of it, commercial side of it. Don't look at the pennies, the pounds, or the dollars. Pick whatever aspiration you have, and if there's a particular technology or a sector that you have affinity to, and just do one thing. One thing very, very simple. Try to become the best of the best. And
Mm,
when I say that, so many people, wow, that's a big ask. It's not a big ask. We're not saying that we want you to be the best of the best in overnight. Take whatever your aspiration is, break it down into small bite-sized chunks. Dr. Ashles, let me ask you a question. If if how hard is it to make 100% change in anything in life?
it will take some time.
Yeah, it will take
Definitely.
some time, it will take some
Exactly.
effort, it will take some things.
Yes.
Now, if I was to say to you, Dr. Ethel, all I want you to do is each and every day, or once a week, just improve yourself by 1%.
1% correct.
How much more doable is that?
It is.
Yeah.
It is doable. 7 days, just 1% is not a big deal.
Okay. So if you did 1% a week,
Mm-hmm.
that means in a year you've done 52%.
100%. Yes. More than
Yeah. So
50%
it's
has been done.
halfway.
Yes.
So it's halfway
Halfway.
towards your goals, and
Wow. Nice.
that's really the perspective. But another element that's important to that part is when you're going to grow, when you want to develop, one thing that you must do, and I still do, on a daily basis, is you have to reflect upon where you are. So
True.
every day when I start, first thing, I start off with a sense of gratitude, and you've got to be in that mindset where you're grateful for everything that you have. We
Right.
all, we're human, we're human individuals, and many a stage, you get up, oh my God, another morning. What? Start off with that sense of gratitude, and world
Gratitude.
takes on
Right.
a different meaning. But
Wow.
what you must do is reflect. Okay, now we're in Tuesday. What did I do on Monday? And how am I going to better myself based on things? So self-reflection and introspection is absolutely critical if you want to develop. Because if you are standing still, you do not grow. So if you're standing at the same place where you were yesterday, you're not going to
You're not
grow.
going. Correct.
So always be walking. Activity is critical.
True. True. Wow. Very, very, very beautiful message you have given here. Number one, this world is materialistic. 100% yes. Don't worry about the money that will come, and try to be best of best. Really, really. And I can say definitely the words.
And I think,
The
sorry, it's a point. It's also important to say that, once you become the best of the best, you will never ever think about money. You will never even worry
right,
about the commercial thing. That is a byproduct. And the
byproduct.
better
Right.
you are, the higher that byproduct is going to be.
Going to be right, right, right. No, definitely. I can simply say that what you said in the last 3 4 5 minutes is all about 3 decades of experience, and really, really appreciate for that one. Actually, let's move to the next one now. Let me put a question to my audience and ask one thing. If anybody of you already work with Nayab, might be in the organization of RiseUp program or training or directly indirectly, please say yes or no. Then I have another follow-up question for you as well. Okay, next part. We saw that you change your complete journey from selling the cars to the broadband to open a company and come to the technology, because you say that you are the passionate about technology. Before that, at what age you got your first laptop or first computer at your home?
I was about 16.
16-year-old. Okay.
Yeah.
So how was that feeling that you say
Oh,
that
that was
now
amazing.
your passion is aligned what your family is looking for? Or okay, that's fine. I got a desktop, that's fine.
That was an amazing thing because got that first computer, started doing little bits of programming, and this was very at the early stages. And I bought myself a BBC Micro Electron, and then we had PCs from Sinclair. We had the ZX
Yes.
Spectrum, and I remember the computer went from, I think it was 16K memory to 64K memory. I thought,
Yes.
wow, how big is that? So sorry, I'm showing my age here now.
No, no,
I'm
no, no,
probably
no.
digging a
I,
big hole for myself here.
I was coming for that question. If you say that at age of 16 you got your first your desktop, then it means it is somewhere in 90s, 80s somewhere I'm talking, or it's before that as well.
Yeah, but it was probably like mid 80s.
Mid 80s, right? Okay, I still not asking you the director. Don't worry. Okay, good. So when you get your first laptop and or I can say the desktop, you got it and you see that you start programming. How you
Yeah.
feel that is this computer is going to be life changing in the coming future, or do you think that okay, everybody's having, let me have that as well? Or what was intention or thought behind that?
At that stage, I mean, primarily what we had was we didn't even have hard drives.
True.
We would connect a cassette tape recorder, and then you'd have like games on cassette recorders. And then when you started doing your own programming and stuff, and you thought, okay, you can. That whole element of automation was kicking in
Mm,
there in my mind at that early age. I'm thinking, okay, you can create value, you can simplify something. So rather than
true.
somebody have to do manually, you can actually do it where you load up a program, somebody can enter something in, and it gives you an answer. So it's almost like a form of a primitive calculator at that time. I thought, yes,
Yes.
this has value.
So it means if people are saying that automation is taking place now, they are wrong. It is started when the first
Very long
computer
time ago.
has been built up and people start doing the programming. That's what the automation come in the
Yeah,
picture.
yeah,
Okay, good, nice, nice. So now I got okay, 90s, 80s somewhere that okay,
yeah,
that's I
yeah.
was I was not. If it's the mid 80s, I was born. But if it's before that, I was not born that time. So nothing on that one. Okay, the next question is definitely we are linking the things together now. So starting your career as a sales, coming on the entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, one more thing, then we'll go to the next part. What is the meaning of entrepreneur according to you? Because if nowadays you see anybody can say, hey, I'm entrepreneur, just open a Google account or LinkedIn account, CEO, CFO, founder. So is that a sense is still there? It's all lost. The actual meaning of entrepreneur is there. What are your
No,
thoughts?
I think to all extents and purposes is still there. The way that the world revolves around us. I mean, my inspiration of becoming an entrepreneur, to have a company, that was a nice to have, but it wasn't the be all and end all of anything. I think if you asked what inspired my push into entrepreneurism, at the heart of it was always a desire to build something, to solve problems, to
Yes.
create something meaningful. And over time, that evolved from business building into a deeper commitment to people, opportunity, and impact where I sit today.
Mm, nice. Good. Okay. Now let's come to your current journey now. So I saw that in the under name you put Nayab Sai as CEO Hip Digital.
Yeah.
What was the trigger for the Hip Digital? Is it becoming something from the selling computers and then move to the technology, or it is? You have
So
some
no,
different mindset.
so from the from when I was in thing, what happened as I developed and I was looking after this complete networking division,
Mhm.
I got approached. This was late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, where a small company called Cisco Systems were thinking about coming to the UK and European marketplace.
Okay.
And I got headhunted and involved with them in helping to set up their channel strategy and market entry to the UK and Europe. And as we developed, they set up a two-tier distribution strategy, which was where my strength was.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, originally Cisco Systems in the US were very much a high-touch vertical market type sales single-tier organization. And we said,
Mhm.
if you want to grow in the European marketplace, you need to set up distributorship. And so they toyed with the idea of two-tier distribution. Deployed their first three main trade distributors in the UK, and lo and behold, one of those distributors then ended up headhunting me, and I joined them as their franchise manager for Cisco Systems. We
Okay.
grew that from zero to 18 million pounds turnover in the first
Wow.
2 years. And at that time, it was still a very, very complex, product. And we'd grown with the product portfolio, which was expanding like crazy. And I thought, although we're a trade distributor, we're actually helping our resellers spec up solutions for their customers. And we're using our distribution functions of inventory and credit management and
Mhm.
shipping them out the product. And then I'm also subbing out engineers to go and do the installations on their behalf. So I thought there's a
Oh.
whole spectrum here. So at that stage, I thought it's a high thing, a high complex product. So I think there's value that I can create. So me and two other guys, we left and we set up our own Cisco practice.
Mm.
That
Wow.
Cisco practice grew from zero to 106 million pounds turnover in the first 4 years. We had
Wow.
188 headcount across the US, UK, Europe,
Wow.
Middle East, and Japan and Australia.
Mm.
And that really we became their fastest and largest two-tier partner across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And
Wow.
that was the interesting part. So during that period, we also were involved with a high level of curriculum development. So the CCNA, CCNP, and all these courses. So those were being developed at the time by Cisco Systems, and we actually were involved with Cisco Systems in helping to develop curriculum from that stage.
Wow. Amazing. So again, means I can say the hip digital started with kind of a Cisco system distribution perspective. So what is the current, I can say, if I need to be asked, what is the leadership thought of the hip digital, and what is the scaling impact? Because now if I see hip digital is not only in UK, it is across the world. I saw that you have in the America, you have a entity in the America, you have working with South Africa as well. In India also you have started some work. In Middle East also you have gone and you have started some work there. So what is about leadership and the scaling impact of hip digital in altogether?
So the leadership and I guess for once again, it's about value creation. So we started off something, so 5 years ago, got introduced to this. Next month is going to be 5 years for Hub Digital with our partnership with ServiceNow.
Hmm.
And I was invited in the early days to say, right, okay, can he come? I was introduced by somebody and said, look, can he come and meet with ServiceNow? And I said, service who? And
That is
and
true.
I went to my first meetings and the discussions they had. They said, look, Nayab, we have a challenge here. I said, go on. They said, we as an organisation have been growing tremendously around the globe. And they were about 4.5 million at that stage about 5 years ago. And we have a challenge in that all of our sales guys are selling so many licenses that they're driving Ferraris, but we've completely forgotten about the talent until the partners have come knocking on our door saying, we're still growing, we need some talent. Where do we get it from?
Talent. Right.
So can you help? So the proposition was really, I walked away from that meeting thinking, well, it's exciting, but it's really just a vanilla Me Too sort of training proposition here, nothing particularly thing. And in the 10 years sort of prior into that run up after my exit from my Cisco practice, and it was did a whole load of consultancy across the world, I got involved in as a volunteer as part of the Central Executive Committee with a large international humanitarian development organization doing stuff out in Africa
Mm.
around water, around solar electrification, etc. And I saw with how little and how easily you could help change lives for individuals.
Correct.
So, coming back to the ServiceNow story, so I was going for my second meeting where I was going to politely decline the opportunity. And suddenly said, oh, by the way, Nayab, one thing that we forgot to tell you that this program that we'd like you to get involved in is about creating opportunities for three main pillars. Number one, poverty alleviation. Number two, serving underserved communities. Three, gender equity, trying to get more females into developing and coding, which is something that's typically a male-dominated industry. And as soon as they said those three things, literally, I didn't even talk about the commercials. I didn't say, where do I sign? And that was it.
Wow.
So now we're at the stage where we have now done, we are pure play service now. We excel at what we do from a technology perspective. We
Correct.
have now done 110,000 candidate training days of training
Wow.
in 70 countries. And as that scale started to happen, I thought, okay, we need to spread and distribute the load in terms of our ability to, from an operational perspective, to be able to scale and continue to serve our customers the best that we can. And our customers are both ServiceNow and our customers also each and every candidate that comes onto our course, with a view that we help take them from complete starting point to a point where they're coming back to the value creation. In the early days, it would be me looking at the screens thinking, okay, we've had so many candidates come through. What are they doing now? Trying to track what they're doing. What do they achieve? And last year was really, a mind blowing open thing. I'm normally very sort of humble in my approach. It took 4.5 years for my dear instructor and our lead instructor to, twist my arm behind my back, say, "Nayab, you've got to get onto LinkedIn." I was always on LinkedIn, but I wasn't active in
I
it.
know.
So I let that gate open last May, and it's just been absolutely crazy.
Flooded.
And then
Flooded.
yeah, and so I thought, okay, we're now at the stage where we have something a little bit meaningful. Let's try and scale that inspiration because I got pushed by everybody saying, "Yeah, we know you're humble. We know you don't want to brag about this, but
Mm.
you need to go out and share your story to inspire others."
Correct.
So I started my journey last year on that front, and I thought, okay, where do I start? So I thought, let me start attending all of the ServiceNow events, around the globe, be it the AI summits, be it the World Forums, be it Knowledge in the US. And what blew me, it was a really crazy trip. So just between June and December last year, I clocked up something like 52 flights around the
Wow.
globe. And as I was heading back, from my last trip, which was Hyderabad in India in December, sitting on the plane, I love traveling. Part of the traveling is you get fed up. The novelty wears off because all you see is the inside of hotel rooms, taxis, and airports.
Yes.
That wears off after your first couple of flights. But what I do like about traveling is I'm in that plane. There's no PC, there's no phone. It's just me with my pen and pad, and it gives me a
Wow.
chance to be in my own space where I can think and reflect upon things. So as tired as I was coming back from Hyderabad after all those extensive trips, one thing dropped upon me. I thought every event I've gone to, within the space of arriving, and this is, I mean, with Canada, UAE, India,
Mm.
different parts of the world, London, Europe, Munich, Frankfurt, Paris, Amsterdam, every event I've gone to, literally within the first 25 minutes of me getting there, I suddenly get somebody tugging at my thing.
I'm
Turn around
waiting
and
for
say,
you.
so somebody tagging my thing. Yeah, and I've looked around. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing here? Oh, we're so grateful because of what you've done. We're now at the second or third stage of our career.
Wow.
Actually seeing and meeting, people coming up, giving you big hugs. Said if it wasn't for you folks, that I would not be here today. And seeing that with all of the effort that we've been putting in, even if it's step by step, those little pieces of change, seeing those in real life, I think that really drove home the need of what we're doing. So on that basis, we continue to grow and expand, and it's not about purely scale. It's about how can we open up and be
True.
create more opportunities and pathways to the wider field. So that's really been the inspiration behind the growth.
Wow, wow, wow. Amazing. 52 flights. So now the flights came to you and say, "Hey Nayab, are you going somewhere? We can take you," or the still book you're still booked by your on.
Well,
Or they,
it's an important point that you picked up on. That even my peers, within the business, other stakeholders, other people outside, saying, "Yeah, but you're getting paid for this stuff." I said, "No." I said, "I said this is an investment." I said, "What do you mean investment?" Literally, as I said, this is something that I wanted to do, to go out to spread the good. We're in a fortunate position, a very blessed position where we can go
true.
out and share value, and it's really about growing that. And what's happened as a result is so much for keeping the doors closed. Literally every part of the world, everybody wants to have a part of part of him digital, be it partners, be it other vendors, be it candidates. So we've just suddenly realized that what we've got here is a lot bigger than what we actually thought it was. So our ability to create value now, we've done 110,000 candidate training days off already, and by with our current with the current commitments that we have in place, by probably Q2, Q3 this year, we will have hit the 250,000 mark. And the inspiration is to at least hit that million candidate day mark. So that's
Def,
where we're trying to aim for.
definitely. You can have some water if you want. Definitely, you speak speaking a lot. Okay, so few things I see that what I like from your this discussion is that definitely 52 flights is a very big, is number one. And I'm 100% agree that in the first few years when you fly, you will more fascinated about the hotels and the atmosphere, food, everything will be there. And after that, you fed up. You won't just go in the hotel, sit or sleep and have very simple food, go to the meeting, and that's all. Like, and the last one which I like is that sitting in the plane, just open your notebook and pen and write something which you want to be write for the 9 hours. Nobody's going to disturb you. That's a beautiful part. Definitely, I can say is one thing. Good. Now, one more point. Definitely, we are just on like 20 more minutes left here. Might be we can do it quickly. Travel 52 times in a last year. Definitely, this is just for the last year
That was
data.
just 6 months.
Six exactly, not the last year. I guess it's 6 months only. And working or building this hip digital for a long time now, setting up the things, what this journey taught you means, I know that value is one thing you are be saying, and spreading or opening the gate is one thing, but being a being a person like, or being Nayab Sayyed on the personal level, what do you think that this travel, this opportunity, the three words which you got in the
Yeah.
second meeting with service now, which you're going to decline, actually offer going to decline it, what do you learn from that particular part? What's the lessons from there?
The biggest lesson, as I said, the biggest part of me has always been about value creation, who that value is in terms of be it a customer or be it a candidate. The one thing that's opened up to me during this journey is the fact that we have wonderful, beautiful, raw talent around the globe. The challenge is that journey is not linear, and the distribution of opportunities are not fairly distributed. So part and parcel of going to all of these policy and advocacy events, getting involved with the UN, is about trying to scale the opportunities. The talent in Europe and in developed regions is doing extremely well, and there are many opportunities eventually then land. So the most beautiful thing about two things are the most beautiful things. Number one, talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not. Number two, this program that I said I've spent an extensive time with many world-class blue chip vendors over my career. But the program which ServiceNow has in place in terms of extending those opportunities and trying to widen that space of where those opportunities are
Mhm.
make it align more with where the talent is around the globe, and to give those individuals who would not normally get a look in, because let's face it, most employers you would employ in the IT world, you're going to look in that IT talent pool. You're not going to look outside that. Now, also due to the technological changes where we see scale and reach are not the same anymore as what they used to be. Talent is now available a mouse click away. Post-pandemic, the mindsets have started to shift,
Change.
in terms of remote working, hybrid working. So that further opens up these opportunities to do further field. Although there's a lot of organisations saying, oh no, if you're customer facing or your project management, you must be in the office. But in the economic climate that we're in, we still have a greater push towards onshoring, offshoring, and so abilities for those remote pieces of, if we can create conduits where we can create opportunities for those individuals in those regions which wouldn't get a look into trade. Now, slowly but steadily, the market is becoming more aligned where they have a higher probability where they could get engaged, and that's really the driving factor of where we're pushing. And as a part and parcel of that, I've had the been blessed with the opportunity to speak now 5 times at the United Nations, from the General Assembly in the US to Geneva to the World Summit in Qatar, and had the opportunity to be locked up in 2-day plenary sessions with world leaders
Mhm.
saying, how can we scale the technology solutions to make sure that there's value, and basically how no one gets left behind. And we're only 2 days ago, Hib Digital was fortunate to have contributed at the Global Dialogue for AI Governance, which is
Wow.
founded by the United Nations, United Nations, the ITU, and UNESCO. So we had a seat at that table 2 days ago, talking about how do we design the theme of the upcoming dialogue on AI governance globally, and what our key message in that was: number one, you've got to include people, capacity building at the heart of your governance conversation.
Mhm.
Because if governance is to be inclusive, then participation needs to be
Easy.
inclusive as well. So it
Correct.
needs to form a core pillar.
Wow, wow, wow. Because it was my next question coming on the speaking perspective, but you already opened that part. Before that, I guess I read one of your posts year back somewhere that where you mentioned that you work as a producer as well in the BBC radio. Is it correct or
No,
my?
not BBC. So this is a community-based radio. So with the work that we do for the humanitarian charity, so I'm actually a producer and a director,
Oh my God!
where we've 12 recorded episodes we've done already, in terms of work around architecture, around the provision of clean potable water, about providing electricity to things. So that was really the underlying perspective. After I'd done my first few trips on that, I was actually trying to find something where I thought, how do I create value? How can I do something in life that gives me the ability to go out 3-4 times a year as a volunteer, do these projects? And we've been blessed because now we've also had the ability to. I'll give you a simple thing. So there's a village called Cablan in Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. How remote is it? We traveled for 4.5 hours on the main road. Then we came off onto a dirt track, and we
Mhm.
did 70 kilometers to get to this village. Now,
Wow.
within that village, we've been fortunate where we've actually set up and been able to contribute towards setting up the provision of water for a community that's locked away, they're cocoa farmers, for 600 people. And as part and parcel of that, we've set up a massive solar grid array. And there's 3 school outbuildings where kids, as soon as it gets dark, they're home, they can't do anything else. We've been able to take electricity and provide lighting into those rooms. Lessons now go on to 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. They get community bonding. So all
Wow.
these elements would not have been possible otherwise.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So okay. Now another question come in the mind. How this radio part is different than the training part, or which is more difficult, training or the radio part?
To be honest with you, I mean, I remember the first time they said to me, they said, right, okay, you've got to produce a show that's an hour long. And you're obviously doing these podcasts, and you know how much preparation needs to
True.
go in. You need to get your script, you need to get your flow, you need to make sure there's value, you need to make sure it's explained to the audience in a way that can become relatable. And when you're doing that, it takes a significant amount of time. But what it has taught me is structure, and it helps to define your thinking process. It gives you clarity, and what you're able to do then is to pick no matter what subject you're given. And likewise, going back to the curiosity element, it helps you to define your values. We promote this to all of our candidates day in, day out. Soft skills are an important part
True.
of what you do and how you do. When you get in front of an interviewer, people buy people first. If
Yes.
you get that right element right, you're 60% of the way there. We're now in a stage where technology, and especially now with the advent of full on AI, the world is going to evolve at a speed which is vertical. And in order to keep up with that, most employers recognize that technology is learnable as long as you've got the hunger, the appetite to grow. The
Yes.
technology you can always learn, but building those soft skills are equally as important.
Important. Right. Correct. Correct. Wow. Fantastic. Okay. One more question on the when you say that you speak in the international platform. What was the first event you attended as a part of that international platform, and when it was happened?
So part and parcel of that was probably in 2022. So as part of the
Still close. I thought might be in some early 80s only.
no, part of the humanitarian, as part of the humanitarian development, that opened up that section to me where we were promoting all the work that we were doing.
Mhm.
And then as that started to develop, I started getting more and more connections, and people were reaching out to me and they say, "We understand you're a technology expert. Can you come in?" And
Speak.
we are now fortunate to be also one of the original founding endorsing members when they set the global summit, the global compact in the AI summit in 2024 at World Assembly in New York. So we were one of the first few companies who became an endorsing member of the digital compact that they'd established. So we work with the Office for Digital and Emerging Technologies within the UN and a whole host others. And when I looked at it, I thought this is a great platform to help develop and push forward this message, as little as it is, around the whole digital equity piece, and making sure that as the world develops, because of the pace at which we're growing at, the gap which we see on a daily basis is getting wider and wider and wider.
True.
And as a result, that's going to accelerate at an untold speed now that we have AI in the mix as well. So it's critically important and an imperative that we make sure that those individuals, communities, and even nations in many cases who are not quite there yet don't get left behind. I'll give you a simple idea as part and parcel of the AI growth. Even companies and countries, and communities in the developed world, their management of their governance of their own corporate structures alone, the alignment, the agility needed to keep up with the pace of this new technology and the pace at which
Correct.
it's moving at is not yet there. So that's why, as a result of that, that gap's going to get bigger. So we've got to shout off the rooftops and make sure that as this next element of governance starts to take shape, it also incorporates an element of skilling, of building capacity, and allowing opportunity alignment for those and creating pathways for those individuals who would not normally get a look in.
Hmm. True. True. Fantastic. Okay. One more question. And how many connections you are still pending on the LinkedIn to be accepted?
Well, I was hoping that you wouldn't touch upon that. It's bandwidth, as you can imagine. At the moment, we're running, three cohorts across three regions, across India, across Africa, across Europe.
Mhm.
Bandwidth is always a bit. Now the beautiful thing is we have a team, and the team is growing, starting to grow quite dramatically. So we're starting to think. But yes, I still have 1,200 people in my wait list to be let in.
Wow. So I think you should ask ServiceNow to create a AI agent for you, which can go and accept the request and send them a formal message that it is auto generated or auto accepted stuff. Okay. I saw in the background that you have something on the rise up is mentioned the bold in the background of its frame.
Okay,
What what
so
what
yeah.
what is the history of that particular
Okay,
frame?
so as I said, we're now a leading global partner working strategically hand in hand with ServiceNow and helping to develop talent across all global regions. And as part and parcel of all of the work that our wonderful teams have put in place and the quality that we've achieved and the impact that we've created. So we had a pilot in India last
Mhm.
year
Okay.
where we kicked off a batch of, returning to work mothers who coming back after career breaks. And the impact after that, the leadership, ServiceNow leadership was out there in Hyderabad, and Hip Digital got awarded this sense
Wow.
of recognition for the wonderful work that nothing to do with me, but all of our wonderful teams have done and the impact that they've scaled around the globe.
Wow. Nice. Nice. Congratulations for the same. And
Thank you very
definitely,
much.
we want to be. We want that you should progress like anything. Okay. Last one or two questions in my mind, which I
Yeah.
want to be uh, discussed with you. We see the lesson learned. We see your journey, but what are the challenges or the setbacks you faced in your life during this journey?
Challenges are interesting. I remember when I first set up my Cisco practice. So through the recognition we had gained in the industry, three distributors had come out and they'd given us a massive credit limit, which in today's money is probably close to £500,000 worth. Just on the back of who we were and what we'd done. We took a whole load of stock for an order that we'd received, and suddenly the customer turned around and cancelled right at the last minute, about
Oh,
2 weeks before payment for that first order was due. And we thought, we can't, we can't return the kit back because that will just undermine our credibility. It was a pretty intense period. I still remember the value to this day. It was £97,104 and 54 pence was the
oh,
value that was due to the customer in 2 weeks' time. And it's probably 200 or 300k in today's money. And we thought, right, okay, what do we do? So it's really, we got into action. Two of the fellow colleague directors, they went out and started to speak to the companies. I spoke to factory organization. We'd actually written the check and sent it off to the distributor because they demanded the payment. And within the space of 2 weeks, back in those days, we used to have a thing called checks, which you needed to
checks
come
right.
back to the bank and clear. We had a very friendly bank manager, and we asked him to put the check in his bottom drawer for a couple of days. Lo and behold, the guys went out, got some orders from Wang Global and IBM. We got the factoring in place so that we get a drawdown on the payment. It all sorted itself. Whenever you hit challenges, as we grow up, we think, okay, what are challenges going to stop? You said problems. I
Mhm.
say challenges because challenges can be fixed, right? So with challenges only continue to grow and develop and multiply as you go through life. What changes is our ability to remain calm.
True.
When those challenges hit, remain calm and take actions with a clear mind and think. No matter
Mhm.
if I say to you, think about something very negative now, right, that you've experienced. Think about the emotions you went through. And then literally
True.
after that, I say, okay, now think about something good at a point where you were really, floating in the clouds in terms of your happiness. Just between these two things, what's the difference? Nothing material has happened, but what has happened is your thought of mind. So your state of mind.
True.
And this is really the thing. You can get to a stage where suddenly you're going to have days where, oh my God, the sky's falling on my head. Just be assured that as long as you do the right things and you take action and you're calm during that period, it will resolve itself. And that's really the approach. You've got to, and that builds resilience, that builds grit, that builds the ability to think.
Right.
And that's what must cascade down to your teams.
True.
You've always got to keep them in a calm situation and inspire confidence that everything's fixable.
True. Wow. Nice. Being a calm mindset is equally important nowadays. Okay. I have one more point or question to you, that you're discussing about the rise up. What is the
Yeah,
plan of Hip Digital to be take the rise up to the next level? Because I recently saw that you started with America as well now,
yeah,
and Europe is going on. South Africa is one of the is the community which we did kind of a trial in the last year on the personal level, and now it's kind of 100% recognized on the global level as well, and India.
Yeah,
What's the next step? And because generally, why I'm putting this question, people ask me that what is the process of the rise up, how to get admission the rise up, and
yeah.
what rise up can provide me.
So Rise Up is just one pillar of what we do at Hib Digital. We actually operate across a number of different streams, both commercial and ESG driven. Rise Up itself is an ESG focused initiative, and the real aim of that is to give opportunities for those who don't get a look in otherwise. People who are in an underserved community, people who have no prior IT experience, people who have no formal accreditations or mainline certifications, for those who are not working for partners, etc. So the criteria is quite select on that, and it's really aimed at the wider masses and to bring in talent from outside your traditional talent pools. That continues, that continues to grow, but so does our aspirations. We're now at a stage where Hib Digital are curating their own programs from a technology perspective. They're wrapping off the next stages for Hib Digital. We're delving now into other areas of technology. What's driving the market as we move forward is talent, AI, cyber. These are the three main proponents of what we're driving, and Hip Digital, fortunate to be in each part of this.
Yeah. So I got the comment in the chat box that I was a part of one of your. It's Krupa Kothari
Oh,
is. Yeah.
Krupa.
So I was a part of one of your cohort rise up, and that's where my journey began. Now I'm a SIAM lead. Wow, that's an interesting one. So ServiceNow and SIAM, that's an interesting one, and ServiceNow developer and developer as well. That's nice. Really grateful for the foundation. Definitely, this is the words I can say which give us the power and word to be and the strength to be continue what we are doing for the community for a good cause. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Krupa.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So now you should be happy that Nayab know you personally that yes. So it's a big deal for you. Okay, thanks Kurupa for putting this comment. Okay, last point as we're just going to be close the session now. What is the final advice for the listeners, for the professional, for the entrepreneurs, for the aspiring entrepreneurs, for the aspiring service now talent? What are your thoughts? What is the advice?
It's actually a number of things. Number one, build, learn, enable those values which you think, treat it like money. Don't be miserly with it. Once you've got that, share that around. Your careers will automatically start to grow. Advocate for good in any way, shape, or form wherever you are. But above all, serve. When you go out with that mindset that you're going to be serving others, your customers, your employees, your fellow colleagues, your mentees, when you go out with that mode to serve, it keeps you grounded, and you will see that whole karma come all the way back round, and your careers will accelerate like you will never believe. Share the love.
Shared a lot. Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Sorry, I know that we are going to be close, but one more question come in my mind. People called you the godfather of service now. And this term I came to know from our our community, Nigeria community is there, where Tosin, Emeka, Michael, and a lot of people I know in the community, and they call that Nayab is a godfather of service now. What is the reason behind that?
No, I'm very humbled to the point of almost embarrassed. Look, I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate about ServiceNow, and I always try and deliver as much value. I still mentor individuals on a weekly basis, former alumni, former and hopefully will continue to do so. I'm very passionate about my ServiceNow knowledge. How can I create value? Help everybody, no matter what stage of life that they're at. And when you do it from here, and
True.
that's what you do. And I'm very thankful and heartful filled with gratitude to every person that I've met on this journey. And it's an exciting day every single day, and it continues to be so.
True, true, true. I read somewhere that time and experience taught us that your karma will always alive there, even though you not be there. So people will love, people will remember your karma, not your position or the money matter at the last. So that's what the important thing. And we got another comment from Brian that part of current African cohort, hip digital is awesome.
Hey, Brian, what are you doing here on a Saturday morning? You should be,
Come on, come on,
Brian, you should be doing your final project. What are you doing here?
come on,
I
don't.
just.
Okay, one more is coming from I guess from the same side. Great inside, really enjoying this live.
Oh,
Thank you
that's
so
Abdul
much.
Ghani from Morocco.
Yes, wow, that's awesome that you know the people from where people are joining. Okay, so this was the point that when you say that what is the last reflection or the last words, but one more point. Sorry, I am going back in the first part. So when you start any cohort, definitely you are the first one who addressed to the students on the day one at the 1 minute time or the day one minute 0 minute. What is your opening statement?
My opening
I,
statement is very simple. Number one, that this is going to be a course like you will never have experienced in your life. Number one.
okay.
Number two, we say when you come to the party, we don't want you to come and think that you need to conform to anybody or compete with anybody. We want you to turn up with your sleeves rolled up, bring you as yourself to the party, throw out all of the corporate rubbish over the thing, and engage. That platform is
Wow.
set up for you as individuals. Unless you are a part of it, that's what makes it a success.
Wow. Nice. Roll up your sleeves is very much important. And the good part is that come what you have actually, not to be showcased, to be shocked to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, nice, nice. Why I put this question because I remember the movie Three Idiots and the Mohabbat where Amitabh Bachchan and Boman Irani opened the day one. This life is a race. So something from there I thought might be you also have some opening sessions, and what is first opening comment is always important here. Okay, I think it was a very inspirational journey to seeing a person, to seeing a mentor, a guru, godfather, entrepreneur, salesman, transformation lead. I have no words to be call you, but for me actually this journey is this life is actually important, and I got a lot of things there. But as a tradition, and what I follow that, because we're closing the session now, let's take 10-20 second pause. It's time which you say in your session as well, gratitude. Let's thanks to the God to give us the word and power and strength so that we can able to speak for 1 hour. We are able to I not say we are able to speak, but we're able to share our knowledge and experience with the wider community now, because this is recorded now. Until the time might be I alive or not, if this challenge continue, this will be available for the ages and ages as well. So let's take 10-20 second pause, and then formally I close the session as well. Once again, Nayab sir, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's not coming. I know you're my friend, so I will not say thanks you formally. Oh, thank you so much for coming. And thank you so much once again for coming. And thank you so much for the audience. I know for the whole session you were the silent, but at the last when you come in the picture, I was very happy that okay, someone is there who is listening very dedicatedly here. I'll come back again. So now for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I have no plan to be for the podcast on the vacation now, but I'll come back again with this another special topic of service now with a special person as well in third week of April. Till the time, take care and enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.